Hey guys, happy Tuesday. Having problems setting up my camera today. Now that I've tipped it that way, you can see my mess. Don't look at my mess. Well, now that I said that, you're gonna look at my mess. Okay, anyway. Today's topic, hot topic, are you stuck? I would say it's probably the biggest question that I get regarding what I do now. It was also probably the biggest problem that I had. Why is the lighting so funky? It's kind of rainy here today. What's the weather like where you are? Both my kids were bummed that they had to go back to school in long pants and long sleeves here in sunny California. But anyway, are you stuck in your business? Do you feel stuck? I felt stuck for a very, very, very long time. If you're watching this, chances are you don't feel stuck in your job anymore. There's a lot of people that are still stuck, so I remind myself, because there's different variations of feeling stuck, right? Maybe you feel stuck in your career, maybe you feel stuck, I have stay-at-home moms that like wanted to go back to work but didn't want to go back to a job work. So when you remind yourself, oh my gosh, I feel stuck. If you're not stuck in a job or a career that you hate, then that's a bonus, right? However, that being said, there's lots of different variations of stuck. When I first started in network marketing, yes, I felt stuck in a job that I felt undervalued and not super appreciated, right? I worked a lot for a very little amount. And so I loved the residual income idea. So then you start in network marketing, and what are you told? You're told to take action. The problem is you're not always necessarily told what kind of action to take, right? And that's a whole nother live I'm excited about doing coming up here. I won't give it away, but it's kind of along those lines. But anyway, and then maybe you talk to your friends and your family, and what happens? Eventually, you run out of people to talk to. Now, for my business, I don't really have to generate like sales over and over and over, like a quota or anything like that per month. But I know for a lot of companies, you may have a quota, or you may have like a whole new line. And so you're constantly what's the number one problem that marketers of really any sort, what's the number one? If you think that you know the number one, like put it down below or whatever. I would say, and I'll give that a minute, but people, right? We were all looking for people, and you're like, okay, I'm looking for people. So you feel stuck. This was a problem that I had for a while. I was able to get so far in my company, and then I just felt stuck. And so for a long time, I thought, well, gosh, if I just had more time, then I could go find the people that I'm looking for. And so I did that. I went all in for pretty much a year. And I was told, you just got to find more people. You just got to find more people, duplicate. The problem was that they don't really share the how or the why, the how to, the brass and the tacks, right? It's just find more people, just talk to your grocer and your hairdresser and your, delivery and your, I don't know, anybody and everybody that you come around. And I just found that exhausting, right? And I think so many of us have been there. If you've been there, let me know. Let me know that I am not the only one that is or was frustrated by this. I was always looking for new people. In fact, I think it's one of my pinned posts below is, how to grow your network marketing company without prospecting every single, waiter or waitress that you have. And I'm not saying to hide it. I'm not saying to share, but when that is the main source of the people and you're growing your network, not everybody is interested in what you have to offer. So then what do? Most people, I would say, that is where they start spamming. Right? We've all either been guilty of this. We've all probably had someone do this to us. Someone you haven't talked to in a decade suddenly, messages you, hey girl, what's up? Haven't talked to you. Hey, so I got this new line coming out, right? Have we been there? That's where I was. I was desperately searching and seeking for new people to talk to. And I was so frustrated, right? And then you get the opposite of that, where I didn't really want to do parties. And I'm not saying I hate them. I enjoy them sometimes, but the amount that you would have to generate the amount of in-person live events, I'm sorry, but if you're a busy mama, I don't have time. I don't have time to be doing all those parties that many times. So then plan B was, okay, run calls. You know, this is how we grow. This is how we do. This is what our team does. Like, you know, three-way calls. Okay. So I did that. I joined network marketing, like a networking group. I gave spiels. I did the farmer's market. I did booths. I did like everything and anything that I could think of. You guys, I was literally like walking through life with people to talk to, like desperately looking for people to talk to. And basically it was very little reward. Did it grow some? Of course it did. You can't do that much effort and not get some sort of growth. It just felt like for the effort, I felt like I was back in my job. At least that was like a consistent paycheck, right? How many of you guys have felt like you work so much and you get your paycheck at the end of and you're like, this is my residual, right? There's a lot of people out there, and there's a lot of people out there pretending that they're making money when they're not, right? There's a lot of people doing that. And that bothered me, like a lot of these people. And I'm super supportive of anybody in any company, right? I'm already in it. You don't have to convince me. But every time I would get one of those like spammy messages, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's got to be a better way to do this. And so I just was so frustrated in, well, okay, well, if I want this bad enough, this is just what I'm going to have to do. So I started doing more of the calls, which is what we were told, because that's all my upline. I found out that's really all they knew what to tell me to do. They couldn't really tell me anything else. That's just what they knew. They're like, well, you're welcome to do it any way you want. And they weren't not supportive. It's just, well, this is just what we know. And that's all we know. Well, and then they would say, well, how do you want to get unstuck? What do you want your business to look like? And the answer is, I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. I know what I didn't want. I didn't want to spam people. I didn't want to constantly like be running errands and trying to build my business at the same time. Sometimes I just wanted to run the errand. And as you guys can see, I do lives basically makeup free. So the last thing I want to do is try to get all dressed up to go do a live event, you know, an hour before I got to go get my kids, and then I go to the gym. It just wasn't cohesive for my lifestyle. And when they would ask, well, what do you want? I didn't know, right? So I'm hoping that today's live kind of gets into the do's and the don'ts, right? So first, even when I didn't know what I did want, I know what I didn't want it to look like. I knew that when my team was growing and I was on three-way calls for hours at night, which is, right? It's homework time, it's dinner time. In my house, it's like sports. I mean, I was constantly on the phone, so much so that I was missing, you know, life and everything. And I wasn't really present. And, you know, I think it's marketed so much nowadays. It's like, oh, busy mompreneur. And there were days where I felt like a badass, right? I'm like, ooh, okay, look at me. I'm rocking this. I get to take this one here and this one here. And it wasn't fun because I was just on the phone the whole time. If you guys feel me, am I the only one that felt this way? Like even when I was doing well, I wasn't really that happy in it. I was exhausted. And I would miss, you know, my husband would like put my dinner plate in next to where I work, which is usually my bed if I'm on a phone call, right? Right, not sitting on your bed. And he would put the kids to bed, and then he would watch a show, and I'd still be running calls. And this was it doing well. So I was just like, this doesn't work for me. I'm not, you know, and what's the saying? It's like, we'll do what most people are unwilling to do now to get what most people won't later. And I got to thinking about that, and I'm like, well, I don't really care because this is my time as a mom. Like, this is my time. I want to be able to contribute to the family and still not miss the time. And it's not that I mind doing, you know, a few calls here or there, but let's face it, you guys, we were teaching our team to just bring anyone and everyone to the phone. We didn't even bother to teach them the skill set that they needed to introduce it, because I think we're afraid of losing them. So we're like, well, just tell them to come to us and we'll tell them everything. Instead of almost like I think of it now as like a pre-qualifying, right? So they would come to the phone and have absolutely no clue what they were coming to the phone for. So now I've got to catch them up. I've got to introduce myself. I've got to share about myself, which is fine, right? And then you've got to tell them why they're to the phone. Well, thank you for coming to the phone. And they're just as busy as you are, and they only have to be on one call. And then you catch them up and you share, and then they're like, oh, no, I'm not, you know, and they'll give you whatever excuse. Or They're like, yes, this is what I need. This is what I'm searching for, whatever. And what I learned was like, wow, you really can't say the wrong thing to the right person at the right time. There's got to be a way to expedite this event. And what I started noticing is a lot of people felt that way in a lot of different businesses. It wasn't just my business. So what if I could help all of these other people automate and skip to the chase, right? There's got to be a way to duplicate yourself. I say that all the time as a mom, right? Like if I could duplicate myself as a mom, that'd be awesome in some ways. Like, hey, run this person here, run this person there. But I didn't want to replicate, I wanted to replicate things in my business so that I could be present, because that's what I really got into business for anyway, was to be present with my kids. And I wasn't still present with my kids because I was on the phone all the time trying to run these 3-way calls so I could be present. It just didn't make any sense. So, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying there's never a time and a place, but people that are coming to the phone to reach out to me now already know what they're coming for. They know what they're talking about. They know what we're talking about. They know the agenda or whatever, and we can get on, get off, and then be done with it because they are excited to talk to me. Does that make sense? So, do's and don'ts. Okay, don't be brainwashed. Don't be brainwashed. When you get into particularly MLM, network marketing, a company, they say, okay, well, this is how we do things. And this is, what replicates. And success leaves clues. I heard that one a lot. Success leaves clues. Yes, it does. It does. So I'm not discounting that. However, if you are so brainwashed to where you don't see anywhere else that you can grow or adapt it to you, then what is the point of being in business for yourself, right? Do you really want a team of, brainwashed, or do you want like out of the box thinkers? And for me, I wanted to build like people who thought like me, which were maybe slightly out of the box. And that's okay, right? So I didn't want to be on the phone. I didn't want to be brainwashed. And so I really thought about that expanded. And I apply that to, when you go to college and you take whatever class it is, right? There's 2 ways, and maybe this is the teacher in me, but I question the validity of basically everything in life, like everything in life. And I'm a rule follower, but I just question where it comes from, right? Like my kids are state testing this week, and I'm like, I don't really hold a whole lot of value in those. Like, okay, yeah, you did good, but it's really how well you took the test, right? So I look at these companies and it's like, well, how well are these companies duplicating? And is it paying off for them to brainwash or replicate that way? And so I'm like, all right, well, so maybe this works, but this doesn't. And you do that with professors when you're in college, right? You're like, okay, well, I'm going to learn this, and then I'm going to take it and I'm going to apply it to what I already know. And so that's what I mean by saying, like, don't be brainwashed. Don't just blindly follow without really thinking about what you want, right? Because if they're telling you to, run home parties and that doesn't resonate with you, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Okay, too long on that one. All right, number 2, when people run out of people to talk to, number 1 thing I see is don't spam people. Stop spamming. Maybe you don't think of yourself as a spammer, but if you're contacting people and you're like, hey, I just got these, new line of whatever, it's different informing than just vomiting all over people, right? So I always tell like a lot of my team, it's like, all right, it's not that you can't be in business for yourself or you can't share what you do. But if you post whatever your company is, they can Google it. What's to stop them from like Amazon, like, oh, type it in, whatever. Oh, look, I saw that. All right, I'm just gonna get that now. I can completely bypass you. The other thing is if that's all that you're posting, you are already spamming. So, every 20 posts, if you're like, hey, got this today, informing people, because especially if it's on your personal page, people want to know. But other than that, it's, oh my gosh, like seriously, and we're all guilty of it. I'm sure I did this in the very beginning. I'm absolutely sure I did. It was, oh, hey, try this. Oh, look at this. Oh, and then you try to get slick and it's like in the background, or like, hey, join me. I'm making so much money, when really you weren't. You're posing as that. And people read through that. People kind of know that that you're posing. I mean, maybe they don't know how much you're making or not making or whatever it is, but they kind of know that you're posing. Especially, and this sounds really bad, but there's a lot of people I won't see on social media at all. And then all of a sudden, million posts a day. I'm like, they went into business. Sure enough, it's not 24 hours later. I do see pictures of their kids or their family, but all of a sudden there's like, ooh, join me. I did this. I lost this weight. I have glowing skin. I have hair, my teeth, or whatever it is, right? And it's not that you don't support them, but that shouldn't be the main income of your business from your friends and your family. And just so you guys, if you need some relief, you do not have to order from all of your friends and family. I have turned down friends and I'm super supportive. I have lots of different products from lots of great companies. If I like them, then I will order. And if I don't, I really don't feel guilty over not ordering. It's just not my thing, right? So that being said, let that go. But then make sure you're not the spammer that's constantly posing with your products and, oh, this is exciting, and oh, we got this new, and that's all you're doing. Because people are coming to social media to be social, not to be sold to. Now, people love to buy, they don't want to feel sold to. So then you're like, all right, well, how do I do that? Well, you have to be creative, for one. That is what attraction marketing is, right? You are creating curiosity. You're not just sitting there posing and posting company photos. It's you that they want to see. So make sure it's you that they're seeing. So be creative and not lazy. It really bothered me, like when people say, well, phone calls or not phone calls, copy paste is like the easiest way to get a hold of people and like the easiest way to get my information out there. Is it though? Like really look, okay, you might get, let's say you get 1 or 2 orders. How many people did you piss off by getting those 1 or 2 orders that are never going to come back to you because you just put them in a group or put them in an event or DM them, you haven't talked to them in forever, and then you're just vomiting your stuff all over them? That's not really working. That's kind of being lazy. And I saw this a lot in a couple companies about like, well, I don't have the time to do like in-home parties or whatever, so I'm just gonna like put it out there on social media. And they do that with absolutely no strategy, no plan or whatever. It's literally like throwing spaghetti against the wall and then hoping that something sticks. If you're not tracking it, it's not going to help, right? It's not going to help. Saying, oh, here's my special or join me or, whatever. You really have to have that massive shift in your brain. And instead of think company, you need to think yourself. Because if you're in business for yourself, you are your own brand, right? You are your own brand, even if you're not, but especially if you have a business. So if you're like, oh, I don't know about this personal branding. Yeah, you are. If you're building on social media, you are. It's kind of like people that say, oh, I don't sell. Everybody sells. If you have lipstick on and someone asked you where you got it and you told them where to go to get it, you've probably sold something for somebody somewhere. Just saying, right? We are in sales. So just let's call it what it is, right? So it's the same with that shift of a company and branding yourself. You are your brand. Anytime you put anything on social media, right? Look at what even people that aren't entrepreneurs, what are they posting on social media? Most of them are posing or posting the highlights of their life, right? They are creating this vision of what they want other people to see. Now, yes, there's a whole nother life that happens behind here. Maybe they choose to share, maybe they choose to not share. Whatever it is, it still exists, right? So this is the brand, if you want to say, that they're choosing. So you can't really say, well, I don't really want to create my own personal brand. You already have. If you're in business and you build any way on social media, you are. Well, I don't have 1 million followers and no one wants to listen to me. No one wants to join me. Listen, you can have no one on videos. You can have no one on post. You can not go by likes or comments or shares or whatever. Most of my business happens behind the scenes, right? So people watch a video or maybe they don't and they message you, right? If you do not have Messenger, you need to get it. It is a must have for anybody on social media anyway, but especially for business. So I dared to kind of step outside of my company, right? And I decided to be open-minded. And that's one of the do's. You really need to be open-minded. You hear it a lot, like, oh, you need a growth mindset. You need a growth mindset. You need a growth mindset. And a lot of times what they mean by that is, here's the books that we want you to read that our company is in possession of, and this is what we promote. The problem is, for me at least, I read all of these. And it was great. It was rah rah. And I'm not saying that I didn't grow. I absolutely did, I'm sure. But I got to the point where I was like, if I read one more mindset growth book without you giving me the how-to, I'm going to scream. So I started daring to be different, and I started reading about this and this and this, which were other things and other ways. And so what happened was I still have this, and now I've added this. Does that make sense? Because I didn't want to build with the calls. And now when you are thinking about what you want to portray on social media for your brand, it comes through more authentic. So you can still comment on other people's posts. In fact, I encourage it, right? And when you're commenting, you can still, message them. Facebook actually, especially now, right, with the direct, anytime like stories is up and you're commenting or whatever, those engagements, that goes to their messenger. So they're encouraging that. So that's what you want anyway. And that's where it really matters. You're still building relationships. They just come through so much more authentic, because it is really repelling to see. I mean, even though you're like, oh girl, I wish you all the best. But even myself, I'm like, you just stay over there and I'll just stay over here, right? Do I really want to interact with them? No, because I'm afraid they're going to try to sell me something and I don't want to be sold to, right? If I feel like they just genuinely want to get to know me or reach out, I'm more likely to respond back. So if you've been sending copy and paste and you're getting ignored, this is why. Somewhere you are reading through probably inauthentic, and they recognize that. That being said, you really do want to posture yourself in a different light, right? So that's where that like massive shift takes place. You're shifting and you're posturing yourself, not as this desperate person chasing after your friends and family, but as an expert in what you do. And if you are an expert, or even if you're not, like I always tell my team this, it's like, don't pretend to know it all. If you don't know, just say, you know what? I just started this. I'm gonna get right back to you. Stand by. That is like one of my favorite texts, by the way. I'll text stand by, ... Or now they have gifts. Even better. I text that to my husband probably on the regular, right? Stand by. Like, let me just back up. Let me think about that. Get back to you. I'm gonna get back to you on that. So just be authentic and posture yourself in that light, because that's really what people want. They don't care about the big gurus necessarily. I mean, education, and that's why I started this page, education is more important than motivation. Should I say that again? Education, in my opinion, is more important than motivation. Motivation comes and goes. You can go, how many of you guys have been to one of your conferences and you're like, rah, 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 and then you get your team back home and they do nothing. Nothing. That motivation, that rah, rah cheerleader does nothing. They really need the education, the how-to, the brass and tacks, the roadmap, the mentorship, and that's a whole nother life I've got coming, to be able to move forward. So posture yourself in that light. All right, I'm gonna look down at my notes because I had a bunch I needed to share. Oh, so you're posturing. You want people to come to you. How many leads? You have to track them. So if you don't know what leads are, let me know. I'm not going to really get into it, but if you do not have a lead generation, I guess you could call it also prospects, right? If you do not have a CRM or some way, like let me know how you're tracking people. I'm always looking for better ways, but I have a CRM that I use. I used to write on sticky notes everywhere, and the problem that I noticed was I was teaching my team to do the same, had a whole bunch on a Zoom call, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of them were millennials, and they were like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that. And I was like, well, this is what works for me. I don't know what else to tell you. I had no other way to show them. And that's how I feel like so many of us that have been in this for a while, like you've got to stay with the times. So for me, it wasn't really working that great. I would lose the sticky notes because I'd shove them in the bottom of my purse, never again to be seen. And then one day when I would clean it out, I'd be like, oh, right, I was supposed to call so-and-so about that or send them this sample or whatever it was, right? So, it's one thing to get those leads and it's another to follow up. And so if you do not have a trusted CRM, I strongly suggest that you get one, okay? Because when you're connecting with those people on social media that are learning to know, like, and trust you, that is really the only thing that you're in possession of, which is why you brand yourself, right? So your company doesn't own those people. Those people come to you. And that's really your most valuable asset, right? Because even if your company tanked tomorrow, or Facebook, or whatever platform that you want to build on, if it tanks, you still have your people, and your people still know, like, and trust you. So, those are the people that you want to make sure that you are building the authentic relationship with. And a lot of times people are not tracking these correctly. And I know you guys have all heard the fortunes in the follow-up. It's true. You kind of got to bug people a little bit, because even when I really do, like, I have a friend now and I've been looking for a new lipstick, and I'm like, I really do want to connect with you, but I'm so busy, right? And I forget how many they say. It's like half a dozen to a dozen times or something like that to follow up. And that being said, if you don't want people, I'm very straight shooter. Like, then just say, I'm not really interested, because otherwise you're just prolonging that process. So, make sure that you're tracking those people, because when you're not, this is the number one reason, in my opinion, why people circle back to the same friends and family, because they did have valuable conversations with other people. They have reached out, they have gotten some leads on social media, but because they don't really have a relationship and they haven't really built that relationship up or continued it, right? Maybe they asked for the sale and the person shut them down and they're like, oh, sorry, or they bugged them to death. Maybe they did the opposite of that. Then they've closed that door. They're no longer their lead, or they've forgotten to follow up completely, which I have totally done. Didn't plug them into their CRM, tracking system. So then the first people that pop in their head are their friends and their family, who they repeatedly come back to for sales, especially if it's a sales generated business, because they are like, well, these people know, like, and trust me. And then they beat them. It's like, oh my gosh, I feel like they beat the horse, raise it from the dead, and then beat it to death again, right? How many of you guys have someone or are guilty of this? #guilty. And that's why. And partly it's not that you don't know people, it's that you're not tracking them correctly. So that would definitely be a do. Make sure you're getting your leads every single day, you guys. 5 is like nothing. 5 leads over like the course of a year is like almost 2,000, right? 365. Yeah, it's like almost 2,000. So that's a lot of people that you're connecting. It doesn't have to be this massive 100 people or, reaching the masses. 5 people. But if you put them in and you're building that, that relationship, and you're authentic and you're adding value and you're like, hey, I thought of you, I wanted to do this, people are less likely to run away from you. I'm just saying. So when you have that CRM, which is something you desperately need, so that is definitely on the do list, then yes, it helps you posture yourself, but then it also gives you a strategy that you can progress through. Because going back to, you can't say the wrong thing at the right time, it is true. So maybe you talked to them a year ago, but because you didn't put them in your system and they don't repeatedly keep popping up, you've forgotten about them. And I don't care if you just write it down. The only problem with writing it down is it doesn't alert me. Like, I literally have alerts for like when to pick my kids up and when to drop them off, because I will forget. And that is just kind of how we live now, right? So I do the same with my people. I have them in my CRM, but even on top of that, if there's like a person or a meeting I cannot forget, like a Zoom call or something, or a conference call, I put it in on my alerts so that it alerts me, oh, right, I need to stop what I'm doing and go do that, right? It's an advantage, in my opinion, and it's a lot easier than, I don't know, back in the days where we didn't have that. So at some point, though, and this is a do, you have to rip the Band-Aid off. And I have definitely helped people in many different businesses do this, because you have to ask for the sale. And I'm a straight shooter, so I don't really have a problem with that. You have to know your value, right? So the reason why people, I believe, feel like you're constantly selling is it's this very passive aggressive, at least for me. It bothers me when I feel like people are like kind of trying to sell me something, but then they don't outright ask for it. So be a straight shooter. If you are wanting the sale or you think they would be good for your team, then outright ask them. If they say no, fine. It's no skin off your back, right? Then you can move on and you don't have to like prolong this, but you have to rip the Band-Aid off at some point and ask directly if they want to know more, if they want more, if they want this, if they want that. And people read, again, they read that posture, they read the authentic in your voice. And then don't make it about you. Make it about them, right? And that's honestly when everything expanded for me. When I wasn't just like, ooh, join me, join my company. It was like, wow, I really got to thinking. I was like, there's a lot of women, particularly, this is where my heart went. There's a lot of moms and women that really want to work from home. And so they started all of these businesses, but they're paddling crap out of their car and they're doing it wrong. And there's nobody teaching them how to do it differently. There's no one showing them how to posture themselves or brand themselves, or they're just saying, oh, go talk to people, go talk to people, go talk to people. And the number one thing that I kept hearing was, well, what people am I supposed to talk to? And they'd be like, oh, anybody and everybody, just talk to everybody. And then how's that working for them? No, they get frustrated, they get stuck, they quit. I've had them. I've had people on my team. I've had people do nothing. I've had people say they want to do something. I've had people, you know, you get all kinds. And then you have people that are like, yes, I want to learn how to do this. I want to learn how to posture myself. And it is a skill set, you guys. It's a mindset. Always comes back to mindset. Kind of irritates me. Sometimes I think like, oh, I just don't want to talk about, I just want to make it through one live where it's not about skill set. But it's because it's really how you posture yourself. So you really have to make it about them. Hey, my friend. And when you make it around other people and what they're needing, it's amazing how much more satisfying that is. Pay it forward. Know your value, right? You guys, I was so frustrated today. I don't know if you guys have done like Facebook Marketplace, but my daughter was getting rid of some of her American Girl doll stuff. And I had somebody on there that was like hassling me. She's like, oh, will you take this? I posted the original price and I was like, this is like basically new. And she kept like hassling. Then she's like, okay, I'm going to come and get it. Oh, I see you have this other American Girl item. Will you put them together and take less? I asked my daughter. She's like, yes, you know, whatever. And so she comes and or she doesn't come. So I'm like, okay. She's like, oh, I can come tomorrow. I was like, she's like, will you be there? I'm like, no, I'm not going to be there. I'm not waiting around this lady again. I was like, I'll put it on the porch. Just please leave the money. There's $5 under there. And she's like, oh, well, it didn't work. I'm like, I just brought it in. It works perfectly. Right? She's like, and I was like, and I only agreed to take less for the other because you were taking them together. So irritated me. So it's the same when you offer, right? Like I knew the value of what she was taking and I knew it was worth more than what she took it for. Irritated me. So you need to think about the same, like be unwilling and unwavering in asking for your sale. And don't be like, oh, you know, like I just feel like network marketing is particularly has gotten a bad rap because they're like chasing their family and friends, the same people over and over, almost apologetically because it feels so unauthentic. And they're like, oh, please, you know, and it's almost apologetic instead of posturing themselves like this is the value of what this is worth and this is what you get. It's amazing, right? Like, give me your credit card. I will get this to your door right now. Or, you know, you have got to learn to build online. You have got to brand yourself. You have something to say and people have something to learn from you. You know, just add value to that. Know your worth and know your value. And when you do, you don't have a hard time giving in, right? Like I did this morning. I was like, okay, well, you know, that's worth like this amount, right? Like you got to know your worth. Got to know your worth. So hopefully you guys found that helpful. I want to make sure. So don't spam. Don't be brainwashed by your company. Don't just brand your company. Massively shift, right? Growth mindset. Be creative and not lazy. Stop copy and pasting messages. Be authentic in yourself. Build your network and your brand. What else did I say? Oh, make sure you're tracking your leads. Woo, can't say that enough. I feel like I need to say that again. You need to track your leads. Facebook is coming out with a new thing. It's going to be called Meet New People. And it's going to be so amazing for those of us in business because it literally does the work for you and like goes out and finds you new people that think that they might like you, from what I understand. I'm super excited about this. But that is why people get on social media and they love hearing from you. Just stop talking about your business. Just start talking about them. Just building those relationships and tracking them, right? So that when their time is right, you really can't say the wrong thing at the right time to that person because you have loved on them for however long it takes for them to get to the point where maybe you have something that they need and you can offer. Does that make sense? So get your leads, make sure you track them, keep up with people, connect with them, and be authentic. And at some point, posture yourself and rip the Band-Aid off because you know your worth. We got this, you guys. You got it. See you later. Bye.